Welcome, everybody. This is the fourth week, week 4 for your July cohort of grant writing mastery. And we're closely coming to the tail end of the program, closely getting to that finish line. And at this point, sometimes it can get really overwhelming because when you look at your proposal, you see lots of comments that we have made since week 1 on the different sections of the proposal. And it may seem as if there's a lot of adjustments and improvements that you need to do on your document. But the beautiful thing is, right at this point, you all know what is expected of you when you are writing your proposal. At this point, you already understand what funders want, what funders are looking for, and the kind of information you should be supplying for the different sections of your grant proposal. And like I mentioned last week, Saturday, during the live coaching, I said that I've reviewed the activities that the live sessions will focus on so that people are not overwhelmed. Because in the document, you already have our comments there. You already have the guidelines, you already have the guidance that you need because we have read the sections of the proposal, we have identified the gaps, and we have made our comments on the document that these are the gaps, this is what you should do. For some of you, I've gone ahead to say, okay, link these two paragraphs, or there's something hanging, it's not linked, properly linked, or your sentences are incomplete, or your analysis are not strong enough. So you've seen those comments, you've seen those guidance that you need to make the quality of your proposal much better. And then there's no need doing that in the live sessions anymore. So the live sessions will just focus on questions. So if you've read the comments on your document and maybe you don't really understand the guidance or the direction that your coach wants you to take, then these sessions are then open to give you that additional support and then discuss some of the observations that we identified across all of the papers we reviewed. So for week 4, which is focused on budgeting, I noticed that like 70% of the class, you're yet to turn in your budget. I think I've seen budgets from Edward, I've seen budgets from Nancy. I'll just take a look again because I don't have those names at the top of my head. Okay, so I've seen budgets from Simon, budgets from Nancy. Yes, I got that right. I also think I got budget from Emma and Edward. Yes. So just imagine a class of 23 people, only 4 people have actually successfully gotten to the budget stage. This also shows you that, a couple of you are behind schedule. And I noticed that there are some sections of the proposal template that are yet to be populated. So we just have 1 week left because next week, Saturday, is the 29th already. That's the final live session that we'll be having. And I want to encourage everybody to ensure that you use this last week to populate the entire document so that you can get our reviews and our comments. The last review I'll be doing is on Thursday and Friday. That's the final review. And so if you don't put your ideas down, put the information in those sections, you wouldn't know if you have done something wrong or something that is insufficient for you to be able to put by the time you are then doing your applications. Because by the time you will finish by 29th, you already have a master proposal in your hand. And then the next stage is for you to identify grant opportunities. And then you start submitting your applications and proposals in order for you to access funding. All right. So the session will not be last week. I think we spent about an hour, 30 minutes, and it was just straight to the point, talking about the gaps that we have identified from the review, answering questions, and just giving direction to the focus for the new week. And so that's the style we're going to use today because it's really been a tough week, a very challenging week. Yesterday, I spent about 9 hours reviewing documents and all of that. So I want you all to share. Has been your experience? How do you feel right now? Because we have 1 more week. And then there's a lot we can also do together in this 1 week before we put you in the academy, which is, everybody that I've gone through some of my classes. I've had different classes in the last 3 weeks, last 3 years, not just grant writing mastery. So before we transit into that group, I want to understand, how do you feel has been your experience going through the training modules? Because this last week I observed challenges with playing the videos. It could be the internet challenge, because for you to play the videos on Vimeo, you need to have strong internet, like 4G internet. And then I had to spend hours downloading them again from Vimeo, uploading them to YouTube, and creating a new playlist so people can have access to the training. But I want to know your thoughts going through the training videos, going through the resources in your toolkit, and then even engaging in writing, seeing our comments, and then reviewing what you have done 1, 2, 3, 4 times in order to get to where it is now. How has been this journey for you in the last 4 weeks? Because this is week 4. Okay, so before we talk about the gaps we have identified and some of the ideas I want to share with you all in today's session, I really want to feel your pulse, feel your temperature, how it has been for you, how you feel right now, and then we can take it from there. So this is where you turn on your mics and then you share your thoughts with me.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Fon. Good evening.
First of all, I want to appreciate you for finding time to coach us. It's not easy to train people of our own category.
Yeah.
Thank you for the patience, and I want you to send my regards to Coach Abraham and
Okay.
Rehan.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that grant writing is this technical. when we received when we received the toolkit, I just saw. I said, "Ah, it's something I can just 2 days. I'll finish mine." So even the videos, like, you've really taken your time. I'll watch video over 1 hour. I'm not done. Like, I I didn't know that this grant writing is as tough as what we have right now. But I know that consistency is just the key to everything. It makes everything simple. So now that we have this opportunity to learn, I didn't even know I'll learn this thing this year, and I will still appreciate Exa Media for introducing us to
Yeah.
you. I know a lot of us came from there, and I've also met someone already before their introduction to your program, and the price was something else. So one of the reasons that made me to borrow that money and join your class immediately was the price you gave. Two, when you spoke the first day, I noticed that you knew what you were doing. You understand? Some people will just rush, and just because you know one thing or you want one thing at a point in time, you don't really know what non-profit is into. You now generalize everything and put the price in a way that people will run away. We are here to work together, like we usually say in a social impact. It's not a place for competition,
Yeah.
because we have to put our effort together to solve the problem. So there is no place to compete. And as such, anybody that wants to assist the leaders, we know that anyone that is working in this sector, especially to nurse an NGO and bring it on board, it's not easy. So sometimes I used to say that it is a call from God for anybody to do it. Because some people
All right.
rush for money and they will not last. For me, I have not worked with any NGO before. There was a time I was looking for NGO to work. Assuming I found one, maybe I would have learned a lot from them. So everything has always been on my own path to find a way to learn. How can I do this? What should I do? And when I see people come to coach me, I'm always very happy. So I really want to appreciate you. Thank you for bringing us on board. I know
You're
that
welcome.
meeting you will change the narrative for my efforts in bringing up this NGO, and it will also put a smile on more faces in my own community. Thank you very
My
much. God bless
pleasure.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was like a closing speech you just gave. We have not closed yet.
No,
Thank
like
you for
we
that.
did not close, did not close. I may not have this
That was
opportunity
really
like
thoughtful.
this 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that. Guys, I want to hear has been your experience for the 4 weeks, going through the training, writing the proposal, looking at the reviews, and then where you think you are right now. So I would like to hear from Isaiah. Maybe I'll just be calling the names as it's showing on my screen. Yes, after our fun, I'll go to Isaiah. I'll take you. Let's hear your thoughts. Isaiah, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead. Let's hear you.
Okay, thank you, coaches, for the mentorship. Actually, the experience has been very good, and I think this is the best way to learn. In that we are able to learn and now put into practice what you're learning, and at the end of the day, you're also being critique the work that you've done, so that through that process, we are able to now know where we go wrong. And actually, this is a very practical way of doing proposal, because we do the normal way we do it, and that's the reason why we don't qualify or get the funding.
Yeah.
And based on that, we are able to be corrected, and not corrected that we are being shown the right thing, but you just get a comment that leads you to do it differently. So that's the most interesting part that I'm really learning from. However, I also want to acknowledge the fact that there are other competing tasks that we are experiencing that make us not to be like compliant on where exactly people are.
I understand.
And again, the dynamics we have in doing this, especially for those who are having more than one person representing an organization, where we delegate responsibilities that I'm doing this part, do this part, and as we continue the same pace, so you realize that, this other person has not done what's supposed to be done. So again, you go back and you work it together as you move along. So probably it's a dynamic that is really finding a learning experience. I also want to lastly acknowledge the fact that whenever we are stuck, we go back to the reference, we listen to the video. Then from the video, we are able to get to know where what is exactly supposed to do, how we need to do it. Then we proceed from do it now most of the comments. So I think that's my practical example experience on this process. But I believe that by Wednesday, we will be able to complete all our work. And actually, we are beginning, as we move along, the corrections in the static areas. Then once we do that, before the next session, the last session, we will have submitted all our work and probably received comments probably by Thursday. Then we'll work on it so that by next meeting, we already submitted our file, the corrected version. Then we'll be able to see where we are in terms of, we can give even ourselves percentage on this is the far that we've gone for these 5 weeks. Yeah.
It's all right. Thank you so much for sharing. So for your organization, Sasa Harambe, you are 5 from your umbrella organization, and then Madam Carol had asked that you work with 3 projects. And so when I think when I saw Jill and Joachim, during the first week, when I saw that the proposals were the same, talking about leafy vegetables and also around climate, I just asked that, oh, you needed to work together on those ideas. So thank you for sharing your experience. And I really encourage you guys, because you just have 1 week from now to at least next week, Saturday, for our final meeting. So use from now till Thursday to clean out the other sections of the proposal. The first one is always very difficult, but now that you have clarity, you know that when a funder is asking about how your project should work, you know how to explain it. You know, if a funder is asking about a background analysis or a problem statement or a problem analysis, you know how to think through that argument or the kind of information you're putting there. So thanks for sharing that. Work with your team, encourage everybody. I know everybody, we all have multiple things that we're pursuing, but please try to finish up so that you can get comments and reviews on those other sections before we close for this cohort. So thank you so much for sharing. Elizabeth, let's get to hear you. Elizabeth, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear your thoughts.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I start by thanking you for this process. We've really learned a lot, despite some challenges on maybe completing. But the toolkit you sent us has been a really good reference, because each time you working on maybe project design, you have to go back. Maybe you cannot frame up the output well. Like for our case, we had a problem with output, because it was like our output and objectives were like the repetition. So
Yeah.
we go back again, we rewatch again, then you come back. I think it's just something we were not used to be. We were not used like that before, but we are really getting something, and we really hope that by maybe probably Tuesday we'll be done with all our work, and then we submit.
Okay.
But it has been a very informative session, because at least when we started and until now, we've seen that we were really doing bad before, because before we could say that, we write proposals, we know we've submitted proposals, but when we come back again and start this training, we realize that we were not even halfway in writing proposals. So it was just the delay was because you have to move from what you knew before and then come back to the real writing
new
proposal.
perspective.
Yeah, so that transition took us time, but at least we are working on now. So we can say no, our initial objective, we could do it like this, but now we come back and then we get reference from the training, and then we get, now we were not even doing the right thing. So you have to learn like somebody who is starting ECD to draw A for apples, you what?
Yeah.
So we are just in the ECD, but we are going to secondary maybe, and from now we are somewhere. So we really appreciate.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Like what Ofon said, it's as if it's like, oh, God has called you to do this thing. Working in the nonprofit sector is not easy. Disclosure, sometimes there are some moments I just said, I beg, let me just even focus on SMEs. Let me teach business owners how to get grant funding for their business and all that. But I still found myself back to, continuing on this path, because I've spent a decade in this. I've spent a decade in this particular segment, and it's hard letting go. All right. So thank you for sharing. Like what Joachim has said in the chat, in the comment, he put his comment here. He said this has been a complex journey. accompanied with other tasks. I appreciate you for making me learn what I should exactly do and how I should approach my grant proposal. It's my pleasure. It's really my pleasure. Now, the beautiful thing that I have learned from what you all have shared is that you had a particular assumption about proposal writing before. You had even written proposals before coming here. But now you see that it's a very technical process. It's a very technical process. There's a certain way or a certain dimension that the funder wants you to come from because they have questions in their mind and your information must supply the answers to that question for them to be able to make a favorable decision. Now, so for you all from Sasara Hambe, you know that immediately after this, you're looking for those funding opportunities to apply for because Rotary, the funding from only Rotary for your programs is not enough, it's not sufficient. You need to also be looking for other funders that can support your work that you do. So, like you have promised, finish up this week so that we can get the reviews on that final sections of your proposal before our closing on Saturday. So thank you, Joachim. Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you, Elizabeth. Jill isn't here tonight. And Edward. Okay, I wonder why they didn't send a message, why they were not able to join. So thanks a lot for that. Anu, let's hear you. We are actually sharing our experiences in the last 4 weeks because next week, Saturday is the final session. Next week, Saturday, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use ChatGPT to cut down the workload of writing proposals. I intentionally left that to the last because most of you would have cut corners to use ChatGPT to write that document. But I wanted you to do it yourself, make the mistakes, see the gaps, so that you can better use the tool to improve. You can use it to improve on your writing. You can use it to generate your objectives. You can use it to design an entire project. But I wanted you to understand the technicalities first before using artificial intelligence to enhance your work. So I'll be teaching you that next week. We'll look at a funded proposal together and then we'll close. So Anu, let's hear your thoughts.
Okay, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Coach Rookie. Good evening, House.
Yeah.
I really want to appreciate you and your team for what you're doing. I remember writing out these thoughts that it's just like somebody that wants to learn to drive.
Okay.
It tells that you go manual. Learn the manual first. If you learn the manual well, then you can always, automatic cars will not be a problem. So I see you like you are taking us through that path, like you said, that number one. Number two, in this industry, you are coming up with a different model. It's actually a model that I think people in this industry need to really look at. It's a wow model. And you are dealing with adults. Adult education is not,
it's dramatic.
it's not really, it's not like the elementary that you say go here and
and
like
they will
that.
go.
And they will go. So I appreciate those who made comments that they already had the mindset and now you are teaching. So for me so far, I think I've gone through just 2 or 3 videos.
Okay.
I'm really taking
you have
my
tried,
time.
Sir. You have tried.
I'm really taking my time because sometimes the video, I think the average time for the videos are like 1 hour 30 minutes.
So the
or
thing
1 hour
about the
45
video
minutes.
is that it was a live training that I recorded. I did that training once so that we to call down our workload and time for the other cohorts. So
Yes.
I think the last 30 minutes of the video are just like conversations like this with that cohort.
Yes.
So you may not
Yes.
necessarily need to watch that part. Just where the presentation or the teaching on the topic ends, you can just end it there. And I didn't want to cut it out.
Okay, and it's all right because I remember the first or second video I watched. That was when I learned about the theory of change, where a young man asked questions about theory of change and the pathway, stuff like that. So, in fact, for everything, I really need everything because it's just like students like us who have also been a part of the class. So,
Yeah.
Your intentionality, and sometimes I have to go back rewind, like you're learning a song, those old cassettes we used to play,
Yeah.
you rewind, play,
Right.
and all that. So it's because I realized you have put a lot into it, and the reason why you put a lot is so that we can get a lot. So to whom much is given, much is expected. So
Yeah.
I think it's worth the time, worth the effort. You are not a lecturer, you're a teacher. You really taught.
If my
And that's it.
father hears you that you called me a teacher.
Because I lecture, I'm a lecturer. So you didn't just lecture, you taught, and you taught with emotional intelligence. So I really, really, really appreciate that. And then another thing I would like to also mention is that I've seen the comments you made. For me, I've seen areas where I think I was feeling that I want more. I could get them.
You have blast everywhere.
As in, I don't get anything. So I've seen that. I've seen areas where I have to go back and put things in order. Meanwhile, I have this question. I think I sent you a mail. I'm just thankful to God that I keyed in at the moment. I've been following you like a
Yeah.
distance, like near, like that.
Very fine.
And then now it became a reality. By the time I started, I sent you a mail. I don't know whether you saw it. One of my lecturers just called me. There's an international organization she's been following for 7 years. And
Okay.
because this grant thing is just a by the way, it's not like I have my own job I'm doing,
Yeah.
and it's just something I've been passionate about. I've seen that I've been doing a background work, but I need to make it formal and add structure. Because from you, I got that. Those early days, I used to receive mails from you, and you used to talk about putting structure to whatever it is you were doing.
Yeah.
And so those mails were making sense, even though I had not registered for anything then. Okay, so my concern now is this. I remember Coach Abraham mentioning something about writing grant alone, because I've seen that it's a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
And that's not going to stop me from pursuing what I'm doing, but it also made me know, because this theory of change and the pathways you talked about, one of the comments you made about my work was that I was not being explicit about what pathway I wanted to go. Now, I think one of the things you also mentioned, and the other coach, is that people who have strengths in those areas, which may not be your primary pathway,
Yeah.
they could help to complement.
Collaborate with them. Yeah.
Yes, collaborate with you. So I think that's one of the areas, the major concerns I seem to be having. Yes, while there are areas where I can go alone, I see that grant is not it's not a one-man business.
Yeah, you're right.
Something that, so I don't know how you may want to throw more light on that. If there are some counsel or advice you can give, recommendations how to get partners or something like that. And then I think, lastly, the other thing I think I learned that you mentioned was that you get ready. Get your work ready, because opportunity can come anytime.
Yep.
When you have this work ready, and that was one of the things that helped me, even though I still had a lot of corrections to make, because I'd done this thing ready 2020. I had a template that I followed. But when you now came and taught, I saw that there were many things I had to change, overhaul, and stuff like that. So based on that, I'll be grateful to have your advice. In all, I celebrate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anu. Thank you. So what we said about proposal writing, you need to collaborate in terms of, in the nonprofit sector, even in your organization, even if your organization is like one man, you don't have a staff. There are also people who come around to support. Maybe they're volunteers, or they're just passionate about your offerings, the kind of support you're providing to your target population, and then they come in to support. So proposal writing is better when you're working with other people, so that they can bring their ideas. So even any project you're working on, any idea, when you bounce ideas off with other people, they can help you identify gaps. They can help you critique the idea and fine tune it. One of the things that I have learned about myself over the years is that I can spot gaps in strategy, in any design, when you tell me about the idea, I can quickly pick the blind spots that it would be very difficult for other people to actually see. I can see the gaps, I can see the opportunities to strengthen it when I'm, looking at ideas or looking at other people's programs or other people's idea. That's why I decided to branch into strategy. So you need to have those people around you discuss and say, okay, this particular community, what's happening, because you don't have all the information and all the details about that community. So when you talk to other people, they bring in their ideas to make your project design better. And also, in terms of your team in writing the proposal, you may not be so good at writing, but you may be good at talking. And so if you have someone in your team that has that capacity, it's more complementary. That, okay, you can ideate, tell the person this is what I want to do, and the person can translate it and put it on paper. So that's what Abraham was saying, that it's better you do it together with other people, except you have really grown in the skill of writing proposal over the years, and then you can do it all on your own. Delegate. Somebody can be so good at digging out information. Let them do research. Someone is very good at writing. Let them put the ideas together. Someone is good with editing, spotting gaps. So by the time people bring all these capabilities together, the quality of the proposal is better. That's on one perspective. And on the other perspective, when you do the problem tree analysis, I always recommend that, follow this problem tree analysis, follow it in any problem you want to dissect, any project you want to come up with, do a problem tree analysis. You will get a lot of information or headway with your project. And so when you do that problem tree analysis, you will have a lot of factors that you have mapped out or you have identified as the root causes. And there's no way you can address all of those issues in one project or through one proposal. You even find out that there are issues that are outside the scope of your own nonprofit organization. They're outside your mandates, they're outside your mission. But if you find out that, these particular issues are outside of the scope of our work, but they are also essential for them to be addressed in these communities we work, then you begin to look for organizations that are offering, programs or offering services in that area. And one of the ways that you can identify these organizations, like what Abraham was saying 2 weeks ago, you need to participate in networks. You need to participate in networks and in alliances. So when I was still in the field, we were building networks. We're also participating in networks. Almost all the projects that I had the privilege of working on, a core component of that project was to build networks, build alliances, build platforms that brings together stakeholders. So for one of them was called the Delta State Conflict Management Alliance, the SCMA. The SCMA brought a lot of nonprofits together that were working on peace building and conflict mitigation. It brought in security agencies and all that. And then the nonprofits on that platform, they were able to collaborate on projects. So you see someone that is working in a community that it's been very difficult for you to enter. On that platform, you can just have a conversation with them and they would help you. So in order to find partnerships, you need to be in networks. So if you're doing work around, let's say, for example, you're doing work around child rights or child protection, you need to find what are the existing associations, networks in my state, in my region that are focused on child rights or child protection, and you join those networks. You find out who is the convener. You reach out to them. How do I participate? Some of them are always looking for new members. They want to reach out to new members because if it's a donor-funded project, the donor wants them to really look at, identify, and engage with grassroots organizations working in that area. And so many of them are looking for more people to join them to continue to advance their work. So find out in this particular area where you're working, what are the associations? What are the networks? Both the ones that are convened by government, the ones that are convened by nonprofits, and see how you can join one or two. As you attend those events, as you attend those meetings, Be observant. Some people go to those events and are carried away with, oh, because it's happening in a fancy hotel, and then there are fancy foods, and they might even tell you sleep 2 nights and you take per diem. People are carried away. So when you go to those events, your job is to actually observe and see the caliber of people that are there. When they talk about their programs, you listen and see what are the commonalities, what are the common interests, and then you begin to build relationships from those networks. From there, you can collaborate on proposals, shared learning. You can tell them, oh, I want to participate in your activity, invite me. You go, you learn. So that's 2 ways that you can do that.
Thank you very much, sir.
I hope it made sense. I did not go off course because when I start talking, I can go on. And...
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Okay, so thank you for sharing, Anu. And then let's take you, Nancy.
Okay, good evening. Yes, I think I was carried away with the content and the flow. I didn't want it to stop, honestly. Yes, honestly, I'm immensely proud to have been coached by you and the team, and I couldn't be prouder to call you my coach. Thank you so much for all taking your time, and the videos really helped us to actually kind of know the paths to take and how to go about the whole task, and also the guidance really helped us to trace our steps backwards and try to correct the errors we were making. And for me in particular, I'm proud, or I'm happy that I'm actually in this class right now, like, because I feel starting the process and then later coming to go through this process is harder, because unlearning is a harder task to do than, so the fact that I'm learning when I'm not even in practice will really help me to kind of ensure that I raise the bar when I eventually decide to actually start this process. And I hope also that I would start in within the very shortest possible time. So I've really learned a lot, more particularly about writing, and the fact that I understand the importance of collaboration more now than just working in silo. So I've learned a lot. So I can't even mention all the great things I've learned in this class. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay,
thank you, Coach AB. Thank you, Coach.
Yes, they will hear that.
Yeah.
Okay. So welcome, Simon. What we're doing is I just want to feel the pulse of our participants, because it's been 4 weeks and I know it's been a challenging and a very tough 4 weeks. When you write something and then the coaches are telling you this section is not supposed to be here, this paragraph is hanging, is standing alone, is not connected, is not linking, is not, So far it's been 4 weeks of building on the different sections of the proposal. And so what we're doing is to get, because this is actually a smaller class, we just have like even less than half of the class here present. We have 23 participants, but you're just 9 in this session. So I wanted to, understand where you are now, the progress that you have made in this last 4 weeks. Next week is the final session, and there's some sections of a couple of your proposals that are incomplete. And I wanted to ensure that everyone, had gotten the support they needed to be able to finish up, get reviews and all of that. So for you, Simon, I want you to share your thoughts. The 4 weeks, what's been the learning experience engaging with the toolkits, especially the training videos, the templates we have in the toolkits, actually developing the proposal and getting us to comment, to see, to give you direction on how to improve on the different sections of your writing. So that's what we're sharing. We're just sharing those experiences in this meeting. So Simon would like to hear from you. I hope I'm not missing your name. Is it Simon or Samson? Madaraka. I guess I'm missing the name.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, when you are talking, actually, I actually remember that you are actually referring to me, but I'm not Simon, I'm Samson.
Samson. Yeah. So sorry about that.
I'm just sorry for checking in late, for joining the meeting late.
No worries at all.
Well, for me, what stands out is that everything that you gave us was actually something that can guide us up to coming up with the bottom of the writing of the proposal. And whatever we have done so far, having seen you chipping in and actually making correction on whatever you have done, that actually made us realize the weaknesses that we have and how we can build strength out of what you have just mentioned as correction, and how to better our proposal so that we can see the outcome of it completely to the realization of what our thematic areas
focus actually
is. So what you gave us actually is a good guidance, and joining this particular meeting was just an expose that we really lacked a lot, that we couldn't have just realized what you're writing until we joined this meeting.
Okay.
So far, so good. As I always say, every moment is a learning moment.
Yeah.
The correction that you give us take us to the next step from where we are stuck. Of course,
Okay.
this is it's not a new thing. It's something that we had been building upon it. But whenever we write, we sometimes find rejections of the proposal simply we didn't follow the right procedures, or actually putting on effort on more pieces that are being needed to emphasize on certain areas where the donors really want you to emphasize upon. So for you being our coach, and of course Coach Rene and Coach Abraham,
Yeah.
no more we can say, but rather thank you for making this thing happen to us. And like, we really think that we shall actually support and actually do the network that you really insist that you can bring more people on board so that they can realize the weaknesses of their writing proposal.
Yeah.
So far, my standing question is like, when after this particular coaching comes to an end, I would rather request that you be available to us whenever we seek some references from you so that you can guide us.
Okay, it's all right. We'll look at by next week. I'll share with you all the different platforms that are available to continue to work with me. And so I decided to build it like a process to say, okay, let me get nonprofit leaders that are really interested in growth and really interested in building an organization that is sustainable, not just in it as a hobby. There's a difference between doing this as a hobby and really building an organization and an institution. Get you in at the group level, and I also share, okay, to continue the journey, there are different pathways and different platforms through which we can work together. And I'll be letting you all know by next week the available opportunities that we can continue to work together. I can continue to be your coach or your technical advisor, consultant with you. But I'll let you know how that works next week, Saturday, when you have finished all that you need to do in this particular process. Okay, so I'll let you know about that in our meeting for next week, Saturday. So thank you for sharing. And I looked at your work again, and there's been beautiful improvements in the different ideas that you have pieced in together. I made some comments on some things that you needed to change. Okay, so well done, even for all of you showing up every week. It's not an easy thing every night coming in. I will even say well done to myself, because today I was in a project meeting. I'm actually getting into tech, into digital technology, and I was in a project meeting today. It was quite chaotic and all of the things I needed to do. So well done to all of us. It's all about pushing to ensure that the different communities, the different stakeholder groups, or the different target groups that we serve have quality services, have quality solutions. All right. So I still see myself as a non-profit leader, even if I'm doing this, it's an enterprise, it's a business, but also ensuring that people in the field have the capacity to really drive solutions for the SDGs wherever they are. So thank you so much for sharing. I think we have KG left. So KG, share your thoughts with us. We're reminiscing on the last 4 weeks. Has been the journey, the learning process and all of that. Where are you right now? And then we'll just share one or two things that have documented here that I want to share with you all, and then we can go and rest and continue complete the other sections of the proposal.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Sorry, I had to join today too. Like I sent in the message last week and even this week, I'm far away from home. In fact, I was in your area. I was in Warri. I just left Warri today for Benin.
Well,
Far
I
away
have left
from
that
Jos,
area
which is
since last year.
yeah, just by your name, I'm able to say, oh, she's from this place.
Yeah, I am actually.
Yes. So I'm actually on vacation and I have been stressed out, so I needed to just run away. So, and one of the main things I took from this training is the fact that grant writing is not what I should do alone as a person. I was hearing you talk and I was like, oh, I'm just like her in this aspect. I'm not good at writing, but I can see. I can see gaps. I can share ideas. So I was like, oh, I wish this member of my team was here and all of that. But the fact that I'm away has stalled my own progress in writing.
Okay.
And then I have seen out of the 5 videos, I have seen only 3. I have 2 others that I have not seen, and I have not done some writing. However, there are certain things that I have picked so far from this journey. I think I should share because I have found it helpful, and that is activity report. We do a lot of things in my small NGO, and sometimes I'm wondering, how are we keeping record of it? Oh, we just remember, but we don't have anything
no process
written and documented. Yes, so I found that very helpful, and we have started to use it already. I redrafted it to fit what we are currently doing. Yes, so I have found the resources in the toolkit helpful. Like I have said, the activity report specifically, we have used it to report on about 3 activities so far. One was done last week in my absence because I'm away. Yes. So one of the things I have found most challenging, well, like I had said, my weakness is in writing. So that's the main challenge, where having to narrate it, put it in writing, but I have found it helpful. I have said to myself that I've not benefited the most because these last 2 weeks I've been away, and even this week, so I'm wondering how I can catch up, how I can do it, but I am sure that I will be one of those who will come back again.
If you want to repeat, like, if you want to carry over, you can carry over. You pay school fees again. you pay tuition again. Or maybe I have mercy and now slash the tuition for you. You know when you're doing carry over.
I saw that the tuition is now higher than the rates we paid. So you better buckle up and try and close.
And by January, the tuition will be times 10.
The reality is, I know I can't catch up with this particular.
If you know you cannot catch up, just ready your tuition and join. Maybe I'll give you 50% scholarship for you to continue with August. Because August,
I think that would be my story.
You have 50%. For some of you who feel you cannot complete, you want to continue, you can continue in August. I'll give you 50% tuition slash.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, KG. So it's one of the reasons why I'm asking you all is to see, okay, because I was having having a chat with Abraham. That was week 2. Project design is the elephant when it comes to proposal writing. is project design, because that's what you're pitching. If you don't get the design right and you present that idea properly, it will not sell. It's a business. You're trying to sell a business for someone to buy. You need to convince the person to buy. If you were not convinced, people would not have paid money to come and learn proposal writing. It's the same thing with you pitching the ideas. Should I do a simplified video? If some of you remember, you know that in that live session, I was going to record another video. But I look back, I said, there's no point diluting the course because I want to make it simple. You just have to bite the bone. It's bone, bite it. Learn how to bite it. So I had to bring the other masterclass that I knew that in that I did that masterclass this year in April. If you see the background, it's still the same, the corner in my sitting room, still the same back. This is April this year. It was a 2 days masterclass. And in that class, I know I broke down, explained what, the different concepts and the different concepts and technical terminologies in proposal writing, what they mean, how you should frame them, example. And I used a case study project design to say that, see, this is how to frame it and then present it. So I just had to add that masterclass. And I know that for the second week, you have to invest like 3 hours to watch the training. But I mean, some of us will spend how many hours on Netflix watching movies? A standard movie, part 1, part 2 may take you 3 hours. So which you watch in one night and even watch more. So you have 1 week to do this. It's a price, a sacrifice you have to make, to build this capacity, so that you can raise money for your project. If you notice this program, beyond proposal writing, you're learning project management. It's like a project management training. It's beyond just writing proposal. It's project management, because you learned developing your work plan, you learned developing your budget, your budget and all of that. So the entirety is project management. And then you now know how to communicate your ideas through your proposal. So well done, everybody. So I think Chi, you have been the one that I know you have struggled a bit in this particular cohort because of one challenge. I just think the challenge is internet. The challenge is internet, because even before I migrated the video, I've observed that every week you also have a struggle of coming in, going out. It's because of internet. And even when I think 2 people complained about the Vimeo videos not playing, when I played it from my end, I had to send it to my cell phone and even input the password. It played quickly. The same thing for YouTube, but I just have to make that option available and then move it to YouTube also, so people can access it. But I noticed that she has been struggling quite a lot accessing the videos. You're using a 2G internet when we even have a 5G internet right now, and it's really going to be difficult. It's really going, because some of these proposals you want to submit, the forms are on electronic portals, and you need good quality internet to be able to upload your applications. Okay, so you need to find a way to go around this internet wahala so that you can complete your work. Okay, so but in all, I also want to hear your thoughts. Chinyere, what are you struggling with? I knew at the beginning you were struggling with the idea, the COVID-19 idea, and I was like, this one won't sell, because directly we're not fighting COVID at this point. We're even looking at the impact of COVID, if at all. So what is it you're struggling with? Has been your experience this last 4 weeks? I really want to hear you so that you can get the support you need. I can't even hear you. So you may want to use the chat area, because there's this screechy sound.
Good evening.
Okay, Chinyere, use the chat. Use the chat area, because there's this screechy sound from your mic. So just type your comments in the chat, all right, so that we can really get the information you're trying to pass. So Chinyere, use the chat area, okay? use the chat area to share your thoughts with us. Okay, but Professor Obi is here, so she may even let us know more of the struggles from your end. So, Prof, let's hear you. Thank you, Mitchell, for coming in.
Sorry, I think what you said is correct, because I know that I always check on her most of the time to find out what is happening on daily basis.
Yeah.
And I think the problem, as you mentioned, is that she always tells me she can't access the video. And then I tried to encourage her. And then yesterday she told me you sent it through YouTube, because she's quite eager to learn, because we need it in the organization.
Yeah.
That's why I felt that they are the younger ones, and they will catch up easier than me. And that's why I decided to push, because if she knows how to do it, she'll be able to coach the others also.
Yeah.
But it's a shame. But she told me yesterday she changed, that she's presented everything to you for grading, and that today she will go through the budget and also present, which I'm
I think she said, because my review days are Thursdays and Fridays. I think she sent in the budget today. So in my next stream, my final stream of reviews, that's when I will now take a look at it. She has really struggled with, but I know it's internet, because the first time she mentioned it, other people said they could see it. Then it was Nancy that sent me a message that she had the same challenge too. She tried over and over again. I said, okay, even if we have an internet problem, okay, what is another option? So I had to migrate the videos to YouTube.
Yeah.
So that at least YouTube will take less. You can even also reduce the video quality through the settings. You can set it in a way that, okay, with smaller data. And if your data is not plenty, you have like 200 MB, it's also going to drag. So you need to have good data. You need to have strong internet. That's it with today's world. Almost all are learning online, strong internet. So, but at least she still has 1 week to finalize the different sections so that we can put our comments, review, and say, okay, these are the areas you need. And then the toolkit is with you. You can always continue to look at the training workshops and the different materials, the books that are in it, the brain. There's all of you, nobody has made comment about the brainstorming guide. There's a brainstorming prompt there that in your team, in your organization, these are questions that you ask within your team, and then you will be able to get direction, the relevant information that you need to gather to put in your proposal. So use the resources in that toolkit, use them. So for Chinyere, thank God we have 1 week. Today is not the final meeting. We have 1 week for you to put in your thoughts and your ideas. And Prof, we have another class in August. You can send one more person to join August. So there are two of them.
It's the finance.
Okay, I understand. My bad.
Yes, it's the finance.
My bad.
Because right now we don't have
that's
why we don't have any, proposal that is we don't have any grant that is up and running. So that's the issue. All right. And that's another thing I wanted to find out, whether at the end of this you'll be able to be sending us proposal calls.
You just joined my email list. For those of them that have been on my email list for a long time, like someone like Anu, they know that when I search, I send out, there was a time I sent about 10 call for proposals. I sent an email to 2 or 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, top 10 funders. So your team members like Chi, you look at those 10 organizations, go and look at their website, and then look at, on the website, you'd see a link to their funding information. So those 10 top funders, go and stay on their website, read all the information you can find about how they fund, the kind of organizations they work with, when they open their funding. It takes work, but you just have to do the work. If you want to look at grants, you just have to do the work. Okay, so she has 1 week to catch up. I do send grants information. It takes me time, to be able to go to Funds for NGO and then identify those ones that are focused on Africa, sift them together, and send. So well done. She has sent the training was quite interesting. I was able to have understanding clearly between the difference between log frame and M&E. Yeah, I can boldly state and develop both. Oh, this is interesting. I'm happy to know that you have actually found your path. Internet wanted to be a problem. So you know the difference between a logical framework now and an M&E plan. I'm happy to hear that you can boldly develop them. So one of the things I will do is to look out for your complete work this new week so I can spend time review, spend time to put, the comments that I need to put to ensure that you have clarity on how to improve on them. Okay, so thank you. I think everyone has shared except Mitchell. Mitchell, what's going on? How's Cameroon? We've not heard your thoughts tonight, so let's hear you. And we still have about 20 minutes or so before we close, before I share what I need to share with the team. So, hello, Michelle.
I had internet problems.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I have been on and off.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw the comments. I went through all the videos, even the recap.
Okay.
And I liked it. I've been working on my documents, but unfortunately, I was in Congo, in Mapangu, for some conflict resolution. And since I came back, because I took my big stomach there, since I came back, I've been a bit.
You need to rest. Well done.
Yes.
Well done. Sorry, dear. Okay,
Yeah,
so we've got 1 week.
In one of the comments you made in my work was that my sentences don't follow. And then in the last class, you were saying that if we start something, we should chain it up. But that is one of the difficulties I have.
Okay.
Because for me, the proposal is all about the idea that I'm trying to pass forward. So if I am passing forward the idea, everything has to come up when I'm writing. So I don't know, when you say my sentences don't follow, I don't know how to follow them up again, how to match them up again.
Okay, so what I meant, if you are talking with someone, if I'm trying to say something to you now and I just end that, hello, I think this is something that should happen.
Yeah.
Hello, I think this is something that should happen. And then I jump forward to say, can you remember when I first traveled to Cameroon? That first statement is hanging because I have not described what I think should happen before getting into another conversation. So that's one of the things that I meant. And also, in writing the proposal, you should know that you're trying to communicate with someone. Like in this room, we all are here. I talk, you hear me, you ask the question. If you don't understand, you ask me a question, I reply. You don't have that opportunity in writing proposal. You must supply all of the information, all of the answers to any question the funder will have. You cannot afford to leave things to chance. You cannot afford to open rooms for more questions when you will not be there to answer the question. And that was what I meant, that the sentences, sometimes the sentence is not complete. You started it, you're trying to communicate something, but it has not, you have not ended the idea you wanted to communicate from that sentence before starting a new one. And so one of the things I think is responsible, you have to read it. After you have written it, read it again. Read it again to ensure that everything is complete. Because sometimes even my own personal writing, I'm writing my, from writing project reports or in this my coursework and all that. After thinking that, oh, I've summarized all this journal, is the bomb. By the time I start taking a look at it, I was like, when did I write this one? What am I trying to say here? Because it was in my head, I may not have completely typed it out, but I have to look through again to ensure that all those gaps, I close them. So one of the things you want to do, is English your first language? You're in Cameroon. English is your second language.
No, it's my first. It's my
Your
first
first.
language.
Okay, you are in the Anglophone side of Cameroon.
Yes.
Okay, so read through again. Read them line after line to ensure that every sentence, every paragraph now communicates what you intend to communicate. Okay. So read through, ensure that the sentence is closed. You have not left it hanging somewhere. It's complete. For some of you, the sentences are not, like, when I mean the sentence is not complete, the entire information you wanted to pass is not complete. For some of you, the sentence is so complex. I used to write like that because I talk a lot. I have a lot of words in my mouth. I talk a lot and I write that way. So even in these masters, my supervisor had to say, Rookie, please break down, this paragraph, break it. You cannot have this kind of long sentence. Break it, let it be short, simple sentences that we can understand. So for some of you, your sentences are very, 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 very long. I mean, you see like 6 lines, the sentence has not ended. Then the comment I made was that split this in, I remember one of the years they said, split this into 3 sentences because it's just going on and on and on and on. Split it into 3 sentences. And you know that in English language, punctuations are very important because the punctuation, for instance, full stop, will tell us whether, you've ended that sentence, you've passed this information, you're continuing. And so if those punctuations are missing, it's confusing when we read it and we see that you have like 100 words and then there's no comma, there's no full stop. And we're wondering what meaning are you really trying to pass from what you have written. So we need to take care to ensure that we're not confusing the people that will review our proposals and make a decision whether they should give us the money or not. I also struggle with those long sentences. So most times I have to read anything I write when I know it's getting too long because I write the way I talk. So most of you that read my emails, you read from me, it's like you're hearing my voice. I write the way I talk. And sometimes those sentences get long. Now I'm more intentional to break the sentences up so people don't get lost as they read. So that's what I want you to do. I see that, I told you that the analysis is cleaner now for some. At first, I was a bit confused with what you were trying to do. But with those prompts we have given, you've been able to synthesize your ideas and everything in the analysis together. So well done. You have 1 week. For some of you that are really behind, I'm wondering how you want to do it to finish up between now and on Saturday when this cohort is closing. I really wish that you all can. Okay, like was someone like was it not what KG, was it you were asking, and I said okay, you guys can continue in August, but you have to pay tuition because it takes work from me. Review yesterday I spent about 9 to 10 hours on all your documents reviewing it, so if you want to continue August, so you continue refining, you have the opportunity of entering at 50% off. So you don't need to pay the full amount of money, to join August. You just need to, because you've done some work. And so if you would like to continue and get us to look at your work, you can do that if that's something you want to do. It's open for you. But well done, well done, well done. You guys have worked very hard. Well done. Keep going. Keep going. Because you may not have 5 weeks when you see a funding opportunity you want to apply for. You may not have 5 weeks. You may have 2 weeks. For some, you may have 5 weeks, but most of the time, you are not only applying for one grant. You may still like 3 to 4 that people need to respond to within the same month. So how would you do it? So let's get that done now. So some of the things that I penned down that I wanted to share, whereas for the M&E, for some of you that have done your monitoring and evaluation plan, or that you've completed that section of the document, for some, I noticed that the indicator is weak. And I will explain further. I noticed that the indicator is weak. And if the indicators, which actually tells the funder that this is how we are going to measure progress, this is how we're going to track change to ensure that all of the things we're doing is actually delivering this change or the benefits to the community. If it's weak, it just tells the funder that these people don't even know what they want to do. you have, even if you've come up with a very good project design, if you cannot demonstrate in a very compelling way how you are going to track to ensure that this solution is actually delivering what it is designed to do, it can kill your proposal. And so one of the things that I would also encourage you guys to do is to go back and watch M&E video. Even the new video I introduced, if you look at the case study, you can just push the video to that point where I was talking about, you just see the card, everything about the project is there, the goal, the objective, the outcomes, and all of that. And I explained also what all these different concepts mean. I would encourage you to go and watch that part of that video. For those of you that have not watched the entire video, find the time to do that. The toolkit is yours. You have lifetime access. You can always, come back to it. But your indicators are a very important, component of your project. If someone is sick, if you feel sick, you feel symptoms, you know that there is a change, a negative change in your body, that's why you know that you are sick and you need attention. When you are getting well, when you're taking treatment, you also know, you expect a particular change in your body. And if you're not feeling that change, you tell the doctor that this drug you're giving me is not working. That's because you expect a particular change to happen in your body. Someone has malaria, your temperature, your running temperature, you're feverish, your mouth is dry, you have loss of appetite, that you have a bitter taste, a sour taste in your mouth, you have joint pains. All those are indicators of the malaria. They are the symptoms of the problem. That's why you know you have a problem in the first place and you went to the hospital. And if you've done the test and everything, the doctor has confirmed that you have malaria, take this anti-malaria, this drug, take this multivitamin for 3 days or 5 days. You've taken it for 5 days and there is no change. You will go back to the doctor and say, these drugs didn't work. Or maybe you're complaining to friends and family around you that I don't feel any better. That's because you had certain things you were looking out for that will tell you that you are getting well. You expected your temperature to come down. You expected the bitter taste in your mouth to change, to have a normal taste now. You expected that your joints will no longer, your body will no longer be heavy. You will be lighter. Your mood will be better. Your head will be lighter, not the headache. Those are indicators that tells you that the treatment is working and you are getting better. It's the same thing for a project. So when you're engaging with communities, you're doing your activities, you need to track, to say, okay, what will tell us that we are solving this problem is changing, that our solution is working, so that you can then come back and ask yourself, if it's working, yes, we'll continue to deliver it, we'll scale. If nothing is changing in the community, we then need to begin to ask ourselves, what is it? For some of you working around conflict, like Mitchell, you said you went to Congo for a conflict prevention activity. So you've been doing dialogues, you've been doing summits, you've been doing this and that, and the conflict is not retracting. People are still having those violent confrontations. You are still recording fatality. You will know that you have not solved the problem. Not until there is a ceasefire, not all the communities have agreed that, we're coming to the table to have honest conversations on the way forward. We're no longer going to block the road or whatever. Then you say, okay, yes. People are beginning to adopt more civil. Stakeholders are beginning to adopt transformative dialogue as a process of addressing their conflict instead of violent means. So for your own individual projects, you already understand. That's why you did the problem analysis. You did the problem analysis and you identified what the issues were. You identified the gaps that you want to change. You need to also know what that change looks like. And then you need to track if this new change that we want is actually happening. Are girls now able to stay in school because of the access to hygiene materials, hygiene products that we are providing, or they are continuing to miss school despite the services and the solutions we're providing for them. For those of you that are working around access to justice, you have a solid project, you want to do stakeholder dialogues, you want to do training and awareness raising for stakeholders to understand the rights of children, you want to do policy work, you do all of that. You need to know exactly the change you're expecting. Are you expecting that during proceedings, the lawyers, the judges would actually give opportunities for these children to share their views or to be equitably represented and heard, and then we would have justice delivered in those verdicts? So you know that there's a particular change you are looking for. You should be able to describe it, to say that this is how I will know that this problem has been solved. For a business owner that is struggling with low sales, is not making money from his business, one of the indicators will now be the increase in the number of sales that he's recording on a day-to-day basis, or on a weekly basis, or the increase in revenue. If he attends a mentorship or maybe business growth, or he attends a sales masterclass, he knows that, oh, I should be able to go back, put this to work, and then people will buy from me because I've changed the way I'm doing my marketing, or I'm talking to more people about my product. You are here in this training. Maybe before you had, a lot of confusion on what these things are, that are. Now you have clarity. Now you're able to write these sections better. For some of you that have never written before, you now know how to, frame and structure your project idea. So you must know the change you are trying to drive through your project and pen it down to say, okay, this is how I will measure this change. So your indicator is not just the number of people you want to train. It's not just the number of people you want to distribute items to, or the number of training sessions you want to have. No, that's a very low level indicator. It's just like a doctor telling you that, okay, the number of tablets you have swallowed is what will let me know that you are now well. That's not good enough. The fact that I've taken 10 anti-malaria tablets does not matter. It does not make any difference until I feel better. So this feel better, I have to describe it. For me to know that I am well, I should have appetite to eat. I should have enough strength to go to work. I should not be experiencing pains in my joints. I should not be experiencing, my temperature should be maximum 36.5 degrees, not higher than 36.5. I shouldn't be feeling headaches. I'm able to really frame and state the things that I should be experiencing that demonstrate that I am now well and free of malaria. So you need to frame what those things are that demonstrate that your population no longer experience the problem. You need to be able to frame that for your project, because you must discuss how are you going, how would you know, how will you track the progress of the project? So when we're coming up with the ideas, for some of you that have already done that, you want to look through again and improve on the quality of those indicators. For some of you, there's still gap within your capacity statement, the way you've written it. I know it's quite a lot. You're watching training videos and trying to implement like that. Do not be forced to do things the way you used to do them before. For the training video, there's certain principles that I actually taught in that video to say, okay, you're talking about your capacity, you need to talk about expertise is an important area that you need to put in your capacity. What's the expertise of your organization? What projects have you implemented before? What partners have you worked with before? How many years have you been in operation? For your projects, how many people did you reach? What impact did you really make? What is your reach? What's the scale? What's the new experiences of this? Let those things show in your capacity statement. All right. So for some, I'm still seeing those gaps of we've not been funded before. Those statements that will make a funder doubt your credibility. Even if you are a young, like Nancy, that is still in the idea phase, she has not gone to the field yet. You shouldn't be writing it. You cannot write in the capacity statement that we have not existed before. No, you have to sell yourself. So use the principles that we have presented in the training for writing your capacity statement. I noticed that for some of us, went ahead to paste the M&E table in the document, to paste the log frame in the document. So if the donor wanted you to put the information in a table, they are going to create a table in that part of the proposal. Believe me. There are some proposals I've written, and in the document, they just put the table log frame. Like if you see the sample funded proposal, if you have read it, if you've gone to read the sample funded proposal, you will see that they have a special logical framework table. Their own log frame is different from the log frame template I gave you. It's different from the log frame template that every other donor is using. They created their own special one. The way they write output is different from the way every other funder writes output. That was why in the training I told you, look at the donor's template and follow how the donor has told you they want their outputs to be written. The idea is to follow the donor. Like for me, when I read it and see, okay, this is how this particular organization writes output, I write it like that for them. This is how this one writes it. So that's why I gave you the two different options. You can write an output to say, okay, 100 people receive training in also area. You can write that increased access to blah, blah, blah for 100 people. Write it in the language that the funder wants. Because in the call for proposal, they will tell you how they want it. In the templates, some of them in their proposal template, they will even give you an example of what an example of an objective. If you go to the sample funded proposal, one of the things that helped us in that proposal, they had a particular document, I think it was about a 5-page document that explained what overall goal meant to them, what outputs meant to them, what outcomes were, the level of change that they consider to be an output and an outcome. And that was how I followed it for them, step by step, using their language. And so when you read the proposal, it is their language, the example of output. So go and read that sample funded proposal. So you need to understand. That's why in the training video, I gave you the two different ones. So any direction the funder wants to go, use it like that for them. Don't use EU standard to write a USAID proposal. Don't use ACT Foundation standard to write it to Nimelu Foundation proposal. In their guidelines, they'll tell you certain things. Follow it that way for the individual funders. So you don't need to import something else into the template. I just gave you those forms so that externally you can just put them to say, okay, this is the M&E framework for the project. So when you are writing a proposal, you don't need to be looking for indicators again because you've already developed them. You may do 1 or 2 tweaks to it. You don't need to paste the log frame in that part. It's a separate document. For some of them, they'll tell you upload the log frame. Like in that JOCOS proposal, the sample I gave to you, we uploaded the log frame separate. I just merged it in that document because I wanted to put it in the toolkit. All right. So that template for pass, all they needed to you was to describe what you wanted to do. Write it as a prose, as Edward said. Write it as a prose. Me, I usually say a narrative essay. It's like you're reading a novel or reading an article in a newspaper. That conversational flow, that's how they want you to approach your writing. For us in school, they said it's critical writing. So I hope that helps. I also observed that for some of you have not written your sustainability strategy. Okay, one of the things I observed from I think about 2 of the proposals, in your monitoring and evaluation section, you were just trying to teach the funder or explain what monitoring and evaluation is. That is not what you were meant to do there. You're not trying to explain to the funder that it's not like an exam where they have asked you what is M&E, that you should explain what monitoring and evaluation is and the benefits of monitoring and evaluation. That's not what they've asked you to do. They've asked you to describe how you will track your project and ensure that the project is delivering the change and the outcomes that it is intended to. Not to come and explain that you know what M&E is. How will you monitor and evaluate? What are you going to do? What step by step, just like the other session of how your project will work. So don't make that mistake of trying to teach the funder what something means. No. We also noticed it in your problem analysis. For some of you, you started defining what mental health or mental wellness is. You started defining what vulnerability meant and all of that. If the funder has told you to write your problem analysis in 300 words, and then you are wasting 150 words to define and explain what the concept means, it is not for you to be explaining what conflict management, to define what it is and the advantage. And no, you go through to point to talk about the core problem, you talk about the impact of the problem, discuss it, and then you discuss the root causes. It's not for you to now be defining what those things. I used to make that mistake before. I will start defining, start explaining this act, explaining that legislation. No. You're meant to talk about the experiences of the target population that you want to work with. They know what the definition of monitoring evaluation is. They already know. They didn't ask you to do that. Okay. And so for some of you, the logical frame, I will always send you back to the toolkit because that is the training. There's no need for me doing another training here explaining what that means. So you have the toolkit. Watch it, find time when you're just relaxing in the evening, just find one of the videos and play again, and then see, okay, which gap am I, where is the gap, and how can I close that gap? All right. And so for your budget, well done to everybody that sent in budget. I saw some really very beautiful budgets coming. Now, because I am not very familiar with the currency, because this is like a Pan-African session. We have people from Cameroon, Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, and South Africa in this class. So I may not know, the prevailing rate of products and services in your country. And then I don't really know if what you have written is an over-bloated budget. But my advice to you all in terms of coming up with your budget is for you to understand that for every funder, there are certain things that they will not fund. They are not willing to fund. So it's your duty to really read the call for proposal over and over again and know what is eligible and what is non-eligible. For some funding opportunities, they just want to spend 100% of the funding on direct program activities. So they're not going to make provision for salaries or rent and all of those costs. They're not going to make provisions for that. You know how you go and find money, how you're going to do those things. For some, they are willing to give maybe 20% of the entire budget or 15% of the entire budget for administrative costs. So they'll say, for your total sum, not more than 15% or not more than 20% should go for administrative things, charges like rent, utilities, and all of those costs, office supplies and things like that. So always follow the donors' guidelines. What they said they will not fund, don't put it in your budget. Okay? So, and also you just need to be very realistic about your budget. So there was some, I don't know, he's not here tonight, but when I was looking at his proposal, his M&E section, I was seeing that the project team, they have 10 people, 10 program officers and coordinators to do what exactly? Even my last project that was funded for over 1.5 million euros, we were not 10 in the project. More than 1.5 million euros. If you convert it to Nigerian naira, the zeros are very, very, very plenty. We're not up to 10 for 1.5 million euros. The other project in that organization, though I was not on that one, was 1.5 million US dollars. It was funded by USAID. They were not up to 10. So 10 people, you're just telling the funder that you don't know what to do, you don't know what you are doing. That for this particular project you want to do, you need 10 program officers. And then the M&E people were 4. I said, you don't need 4 people to do M&E. You don't need a team of 10 people as program officers. You don't need that. Okay, if you have 10 program officers and 4 M&E, which is 14, how much will be their salary? Even the grant will not be enough to pay salaries. And then so you're just telling the funder that all you need, you're just looking for money to pay people's salaries. You're not going to do the project. So you need to be very realistic and practical. That's why the section where they told you to write about your key personnel, they wanted to know the qualification of the persons that were going to be on the project. And they also know their time investment in that project. Like for you who are executive directors, you know, you cannot be 100% in one project. And so if your salary is normally 750,000 naira, maybe it's just, okay, let me use a universal currency like the US dollars. So if your salary on a month-to-month basis, you were budgeting $1,000, for instance, you can't charge $1,000 to just one funder. But let's not just go into that technicality. So if you have a similar proposal that you were going to write and they were saying, oh, they want to know the key personnel and their time, most likely your program officer or program manager or program coordinator may be 100% on the project, but you as a project director, you cannot be 100% of the project because they know that they're assuming that there are other projects running in the organization and you cannot just be 100% on this specific one, just to bring that to your notice. And also, you know, non-profit is a serious business. So to run an NGO, it's not just only on passion. I say this over and over again. Beyond passion, there needs to be expertise. There needs to be capability. So you need to invest in building yourself in that particular line of work that you are doing. So for those of you working around access to justice, you need to be learning. You need to be studying all the legislation that are relevant for you, attending all the training opportunities that you can get your hands on to learn about advocacy. What are the core skills you need, the core knowledge you need? So when I was in the field, although I had an MBA from Nigeria before this one I'm doing here, I had to go and sign up for a master's program in peace and conflict studies. But I didn't finish it. I ran away from that. When I finished the coursework, I started thesis chapter 1 and 2, and I told my dad, I'm not interested in this program anymore. I'm not interested in doing postgraduate studies in Nigeria anymore. I want to go and study abroad. So maybe by now I've gotten like 3 masters, but I left it. But I finished the coursework, wrote all my exams, and even started the thesis, but I just wasn't interested anymore. Because I had spent like 4 or 5 years in the field doing peace building. And I just wanted to build myself. I had gone through different trainings by British Council, by Action Aid, Christian Aid, and all of that, beyond the online courses we were taking. So you must learn, you must build yourself. Because in the CV, when we're applying for grants, we usually upload our CVs, and we need to submit strong CVs. They want to know the trainings you have gone for. They want to know your qualifications to see if they are relevant in this particular area. So for those of you are doing work around agriculture, you cannot just be doing agriculture based on assumption or based on the knowledge you knew before when you had a farm. They want to see, okay, what training do they have? What actually gives them the credibility to design and implement a solution in this area? Imagine if I had invited you to come, okay, you both should come for grant writing training. And then you look at my credential, I tell you that it's school cert I have. I only went to secondary school. I've not gone to university. Will you have that confidence? Will you see me as credible enough to teach you proposal writing? If all I had was a secondary school certificate, and I even had not written any proposal before, I watched one YouTube video and I want to train you on how to write a proposal. Credibility is the same thing for you. If you're doing work around health, you want to know who is on the team. Do they have health professionals on the team? People with I'm not even talking just about academic qualifications here, but also the practical experience. Being a practitioner, you want to do work around improving access to education. What qualifies you? What is your background that gives you credibility, that positions you as someone who is a practitioner in that area? You want to do work around legal advocacy. You want to do advocacy for certain policies to be implemented. What is your experience in the policy process? Even if you are not going to say, okay, you have a master's in this and all that, but you should have been doing something in that area. You cannot just come one day and say, oh, you're doing policy, you're trying to advocate for which policy. You don't know anything about how policies are being enacted. You don't know anything about policy analysis. You cannot even write a policy brief. It cannot work because it will show in when you write that section of key personnel, whoever is reviewing will just look at it and say, this project is nice before, but this team does not have it. They don't have what it takes to be able to implement this project. You cannot trust them with this. So running a nonprofit, yeah, we know you come as, you are passionate about this, but this is the business side of running a nonprofit, because a nonprofit organization is a business. It's just like I've said before, it's just a different model of business. It's a business that doesn't put financial profit in your pocket. It doesn't put financial profit in your pocket. So after 2 years of running a nonprofit, we had $20,000 as profit. It's the work you're doing in the community, but it takes the same level, if not a higher level of intentionality to make it work. To really make it work, you need the skill set. You need to build the skill and the capacity in that your program area. You're doing work in agriculture, learn, study, read, grow, attend programs in your sector, attend trainings in your sector. I've lost count of the number of conflict management trainings, workshops we went to like that when I was still in Nigeria. I mean, for the first year I started, so I was in the field from one conflict analysis to the other, to plenty. I can even write a book on conflict analysis. Field experience, not just I went to do a training somewhere and I've not gone to the field to really interact with committee members and understand conflict drivers and do stakeholder mapping and all of that, both theory and practice. So in your individual line of work, in the different programs you are driving, build yourself in that area. Develop, because when you develop yourself in that area, it will also show in the quality of the projects you're designing. It will also show in the quality of the proposals that you develop. When you discuss your credentials, when you discuss your capacity in that section, it will show. The funder can say, okay, yes, we can make this work. Some of the first nonprofit I worked with, what gave the man advantage over and over again is when he would roll out his own capacity. Every year, 4 different countries for training in conflict management, in peace building, masters in peace building, PhD in peace building. You've worked projects with different international organizations. It's just not, this organization has the capacity, will give them the grants. But he did not start, he started from somewhere. So this is your starting point. But I want you to understand, as you go on this journey, the decisions you make matter. And then you need to make decisions that positions you to access the opportunities that you need. So most times I'll tell you, streamline your program areas, focus on 1 or 2, develop yourself in these areas, develop programs in this area. All right. So before it gets too long tonight, I want you all to go back and complete your proposals, because you already have 1 week. For some of you, I noticed that when I tell you, when there's a comment from either me or Coach Renee and Abraham, you don't go back to review that part of the document. I come back to look at the document and that error is still there. Nothing has been done about it. So please ensure that all these loose ends are tied up. Go back and finish the document, implement all of the corrections we said you should do, the different adjustments that need to happen, please do them. So that in our final review, I'll be doing my final lap of reviews for this July cohort by we're getting into a new week, by Thursday and Friday. Thursdays and Fridays are when I will do this. So this week, Thursday and Friday, I'll be doing the final review of the proposals. And then from there, you go and look for, you identify grants and start submitting applications. So the thing that I'm really very critical about is the problem analysis and the project design. Please don't play with it. Don't just gloss over it. Excuse me. Don't just gloss over it. Spend time and develop it. Spend time and develop it. Spend time and understand how to come up with it. If you those comments, go back and ensure that you make those corrections and those adjustments like we have said, so that we can do a final review by Thursday and Friday. And then on Saturday, I'll be teaching you all, like I said, using artificial intelligence, AI, how you can use AI to improve, like some of you that struggle with writing, you can use it. So whatever you have written, you can put it into ChatGPT and say, rewrite this. I'll show you how to develop prompts, because it's like someone you're sending message. So if you don't give it sufficient command, it will not give you good quality outputs. It will just give you shabby things. So I'm going to show you people, you will do it live to see, okay, you can even tell it, develop an entire project, and it will come up with a fully developed project for you with all the analysis and everything. And then all you need to do is to probably insert, some publications as references and all of that, do some tweaks here and there. And so I decided to leave it to the last thing, so you get to do the work yourself. And then you will now see how you can cut down the work by 70%. Cut it down, cut all the stress, the time, and energy by 70% using AI. But you need to understand the logic, you need to understand the mechanism behind it before you can use the tool to get. So some of you that are struggling with writing, AI will write for you. But so that you'll be able to read and see if it has communicated what you really want, you can give it back another command to say, write this certain way. I've used it and it really helped me early this year for some of my work. I just tell it, give it command, like 10 lines of command, it will write like me, because I've trained it to write with my language, my tone of writing. It will give me feedback, writing, and it sounds like me. So I will show you guys how to do that this Saturday, so you can use it to improve on, the little things you've come. You put it to give you better, and you can use it to, get better results. Okay, that's it for tonight. Any questions, put it in the chat area. Let's see if there's anything we can address, and then we're closing by 10 p.m. For those of you in Kenya, it's midnight. It's midnight already. Okay. So there's a thank you a lot for including ChatGPT. So the ChatGPT, that one, I don't know if I will give you the record, but I'll show you how to do that, on Saturday. Okay, you learn how to use the tool on Saturday. So you may want to just create an account, just create an account for ChatGPT. So when I show you how to put the prompt, it's just like you are talking to somebody. That's how it works. You talk to somebody, it's okay, give me 10. You can even tell it, give me 20 organizations that are funding work around access to justice in Africa or in Kenya. Give you 20. You gotta research and look at them, But sometimes you need to know, because sometimes when you tell it to give you websites, it gives you websites that websites are not even existing, or publications. Sometimes the publications are not in existence. So you need to have mastery first before you can use it. If you don't have mastery, it will lead you to where you don't know where it is taking you to. That's why I said finish the training, and then you can then use AI. All right. So any questions, comment, leave it in the chat. Let's just see what's coming in there and address it, and it will be good night from this end.